Have you ever wondered what a doctor's checkup for a stock would actually look like? Well, today, that's exactly what we're doing. We're putting DVLT on the examination table. After a really dramatic price drop, we're going to perform a full technical diagnosis to figure out if this is just a minor injury or a sign of something much more serious.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the stock's sudden sickness, what brought it into the ER. Then we'll check its vital signs for a general health check. After that, we dive into the lab results, the nitty-gritty indicators. Then we'll map out the key support and resistance zones, offer a doctor's prognosis with a couple of scenarios, and finally, we'll zero in on the absolute key levels you need to be watching.
All right, every good diagnosis has to start with the main problem, right? And for DVLT, the symptom, well, it's pretty dramatic and frankly impossible to miss.
Yeah, look at that. This stock just had an absolutely terrible day, dropping a staggering 17.5% in just one session. A fall like that is a huge red flag, and it really forces us to ask one very important question.
So this is the whole point, isn't it? Are we looking at a simple sprain that's just going to heal with a little time, or is this a symptom of a much deeper, more chronic condition? To figure that out, well, we need to run some tests.
First things first. Before we get into all the complex lab work and the confusing charts, let's just get a baseline. Let's check the patient's general vital signs. So, what are these vitals telling us? Well, for starters, the stock is trading way down in the bottom quarter of its yearly price range. You can think of that like having a persistent low-grade fever. It's not a full-blown crisis, but it's definitely not healthy. Its beta is almost 1, which just means it's a follower. It basically moves in lockstep with the overall market. And that risk-reward ratio, it's a little lopsided right now, suggesting there's probably more potential pain than gain at this very moment.
Okay, now that we have a baseline, it's time to dig deeper with the detailed lab work. And folks, this is where the plot really thickens, because the technical indicators, they are telling us two completely different stories.
First up, we've got the MACD. Just think of this as a momentum gauge for the stock. It tells us if the recent price action is picking up speed or starting to fade. A rising MACD is like a strong, steady pulse. It's a good sign of a healthy trend.
Next, we have the RSI. I like to think of this as a kind of popularity contest. It measures whether the buyers or the sellers are in control. If the RSI is high, the stock is the life of the party. Everyone wants in. If it's low, well, it's kind of sitting in the corner all by itself.
And this right here perfectly shows the central conflict in our diagnosis. It's a mess. On one side, you have indicators like the MACD flashing bullish signals, kind of hinting at a recovery. But then you look at the other side, and you see the price is below key moving averages, which points to more weakness. It's a classic tug-of-war between the bulls and the bears.
Remember that popularity contest we were just talking about? Well, the RSI is sitting at 47.82. That's smack dab in the middle of neutral territory. It means it's a dead heat. Neither the buyers nor the sellers have the upper hand right now. The stock is just stuck. It's in this state of suspended animation, waiting for something to push it one way or the other.
And the contradictions just keep coming when we look at volume. That huge recent drop, it happened on really high volume, which confirms, there was a ton of selling. But, and this is a big but, the long-term on-balance volume is still pretty high, which suggests that over the bigger picture, not everyone has been running for the exits.
So, with lab results this conflicting, the best thing to do is to just map out the chart itself. We need to identify the critical price levels that are going to act like signposts, telling us if this patient is getting better or worse.
Now, this is really interesting because it lays out the battlefield so clearly. That price of 1.20 is the pivot point. That's the central line in the sand. Below that, you've got your first line of defense, a support level at 1.08. But the ultimate indicator of long-term health, the real do-or-die level, is that 200-day moving average all the way down at 1.04.
Okay, so we've looked at the symptoms, we've checked the vitals, and we've puzzled over those conflicting lab results. Let's put it all together and give the doctor's prognosis. From here, there are really two clear paths this could take.
So the path to recovery, the bullish story, requires the stock to dig in its heels and hold that support around 1.08. Then fight its way back above that 120 pivot. But the path of decline, the bearish story, is what happens if that 1.08 support level breaks. That would likely open the door to a test of that absolutely critical long-term health indicator down at 1.04.
That was a lot of data. So let's boil it all down to the essentials.
let's talk about the 3 most important numbers that will tell us pretty much everything we need to know about DVLT's future health.
And here it is, the bottom line. The entire story really comes down to this battle between support at 1.08 and resistance at 1.20. That's the short-term fight. But the long-term war? That's going to be decided down at 1.04. That level is the last line of defense for the entire broader trend.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The source material we're analyzing concludes with the exact same point. The action around these key support levels is everything right now, and a failure at 1.04 would be a very, very serious sign for the stock's health.
So, there you have it. Our technical diagnosis shows a stock that is truly at a crossroads. Those conflicting signals tell us its fate is really just hanging in the balance. Will it find the strength at support to bounce back? Or will it finally succumb to all that selling pressure? Well, only time will tell. But now, you know exactly what levels to watch.